Hi everyone, and welcome. This explainer is designed specifically for your Anglais Monde Contemporain course. We're going to dig into a really complex topic today and get you ready for your exams by exploring the very idea of Englishness itself. So, let's kick things off with a question from the absolute master of spy fiction, John le Carré. His famous character, the spy George Smiley, is looking back on his entire career and he asks this fundamental question. It just perfectly captures what we're talking about today. The idea of England isn't some simple, solid thing. It's a question. It's a conflict. It's a whole collection of competing images. And this brings us right into our course framework. We're working within Theme 2, Representations, and we're zeroing in on Axis 3, representing the world through images and the imagination. What we're going to see is how images, whether they're in a poem or a movie, are never neutral. They always select, they frame, and they guide our view. And in doing so, they have this incredible power to shape how we see the English-speaking world.
So this is our guiding question. This is our mission for today. We're going to be a bit like detectives, sifting through the evidence in literature and film to figure out how this really complex and often contradictory idea of England actually gets built.
And here's our game plan. First, we'll look at a foundational, almost idealized myth of England. Then we're going to see how that myth gets fractured and challenged. After that, we'll bring it right up to the modern day with a great example from cinema. And finally, we'll pull it all together and focus on those practical skills you're going to need for your exams.
All right, let's get started with part 1, the foundational myth. So where does this classic image of a green, pleasant England even come from?
Okay, first, a really crucial term for our analysis, representation. You have to remember, a representation is not reality. It's a construction, it's a portrayal, with a goal, with an intention behind it. So whenever we look at a poem or a still from a film, we always have to ask ourselves, who made this image and why? What version of reality are they trying to sell us?
Now, what's so interesting on this slide is how it shows the tension that exists inside the myth itself. On the one hand, you've got Thomas Gray's famous elegy, painting this beautiful, idyllic picture of the honest English worker, the heart of a peaceful, rural nation. But then, fast forward a century or so, and G.K. Chesterton uses a similar setting to talk about betrayal. His sturdy farmers are the same kind of people, but now they're victims, tricked into a pointless war by corrupt politicians. See? Same landscape, but two totally different representations. And this ideal is incredibly powerful. It's almost religious. These famous lines from William Blake, which so many people in England know by heart, connect the English landscape to this divine, heavenly mission, building a new Jerusalem. This takes that rural myth and elevates it way beyond just a nice picture. It becomes a sort of national calling.
Okay, so we have this ideal. Now let's move to our second section, a fractured reality. Because for every one of those idealized images of England, there's a powerful counter-image, a representation of conflict and dissent that really breaks that myth apart.
And this just brilliantly illustrates that fracture. The poet Siegfried Sassoon, writing from the absolute horror of the World War I trenches, turns his anger not on the German enemy, but on the yellow pressmen, the journalists, and the politicians back home, the junkers in Parliament. He's using a term for the German elite to describe the British one. In this representation, the war isn't England versus Germany, it's the honest soldier versus a corrupt English establishment. The real enemy is at home.
So, here's the crucial point. This myth of a betrayed rural England can have a really dark side. Sassoon's anger gets uncomfortably close to that dangerous stab-in-the-back myth. And Chesterton's vision of Merry England, well, it wasn't just a sweet, nostalgic dream. For him, it was a political project tied to anti-Semitism and a desire to exclude foreigners, to reassert the rights of the quote-unquote native English. This shows us that these images of national identity are battlegrounds, really. They're used to include some people and to exclude others.
All right, let's bring this whole analysis into a more contemporary context with our third section. Let's use the world of spy thrillers. How do these modern stories represent a nation's anxieties about itself? Think about it. After the Cold War ended, the enemy wasn't this clear external threat like the Soviet Union anymore. So what happened in spy fiction? Well, it turned inward. Le Carré's later novels are just filled with villains who aren't foreign agents, but corrupt British officials, greedy corporations, rotten parts of the establishment itself. The threat to England, yet again, comes from within. And this really reflects a real-world crisis of national identity.
Okay, let's do a bit of close analysis of a cinematic representation. On the screen, we've got two stills from the 2011 film Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. On the left, there's the spy Pridos, shot and left for dead.
And on the right, the traitor Hayden after he's been killed. Do you see the visual parallel? The director uses almost identical overhead shots. This isn't just a political story anymore. The visual language of the film links these two men so intimately, suggesting the betrayal is as personal, as tragic, as one between lovers. And this is exactly how you should structure your analysis for the baccalaureate. It's a simple, winning formula. First, you state your idea clearly. The film visually links the characters. Second, you provide a precise example from the document, in this case, the specific cinematic choice of using parallel overhead shots. And third, you explain the effect. What meaning does it create? It transforms a political betrayal into a deep personal tragedy. Idea, example, explanation. Got it?
Okay, time to bring it all together. In our final section, let's synthesize everything we've learned and get back to answering our main guiding question.
So, what have we established? We've seen that England isn't just one thing, right? It's a collage of conflicting images. We have this powerful, constructed myth of a perfect rural countryside. Then we see that ideal get shattered by stories of betrayal and internal conflict. And finally, we see how modern films use visual language to explore all the anxieties about that same unstable identity. The key takeaway here is that by analyzing these images, we begin to understand their power over us.
So, to finally answer our guiding question, literary and cinematic images don't just reflect the idea of England, they actively construct it. They build it from a collage of conflicting stories. The ideal, the betrayed, the powerful, the corrupt. These images are literally the building blocks of a national identity that is never fixed but is always being fought over, always evolving.
And I'll leave you with a final thought to take away. We've deconstructed how Englishness is built through images. But this process of representation, it's happening all around us, right now. It's shaping our understanding of everything. So my question to you is, which images, from the films you watch, the news you see, the social media you scroll through, which of those images are shaping your perception of the world today? Thanks for your attention.